All right, this is journal page 374, section 16.2. Simplify the expression, write your answers as a power. So there were a couple of rules we learned today. They're not very hard rules, and they're actually rules you could come up with on your own. But when we're multiplying powers of bases and the bases are the same, then we just add the powers. So in parentheses, negative 6 to the 5th power times, in parentheses, negative 6 to the 4th power will be, in parentheses, negative 6 to the 9th power. Here, for number 2, x to the 1st power times x to the 9th power is x to the 10th power. Number 3, 4/5 in parentheses to the 3rd power times 4/5 in parentheses to the 12th power equals 4/5 in parentheses to the 15th power. Number 4, negative 1.5 to the 11th power, in parentheses of course, times negative 1.5 in parentheses to the 11th power equals, hey, it'd be cool if we could do this. They're looking for the answer, in parentheses, negative 1.5 to the 22nd power. But we could put, since we're multiplying this and this are exactly the same, negative 1.5 in parentheses to the 11th power in parentheses squared. But that's not what they were looking. They were looking for this. Number 5. You know what? Now that I look at these powers, 2 powers, maybe they were looking for this second one. Negative 1.5 in parentheses to the 11th power, and then in parentheses squared. That's probably the answer they were looking for. I would accept either answer though. Number 5, y to the 10th power raised to the 20th power. Well, remember that when a power is raised to a power, you multiply the powers. That equals y to the 200th power. Or if you don't want to write it to a power, you could write out 200 y's multiplied together. Not really, please don't do that. There's one person in particular I know would actually do that. Negative 2/9 in parentheses to the 8th power, in parentheses to the 7th power. Multiply these and you get negative 2/9 in parentheses to the 56th power. Simplify the expression. So for number 7, 2a to the 6th power is the same as 2 to the 6th power times a to the 6th power. And 2 to the 6th power, well, that's the same as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 equals 64a to the 6th power. Don't put this in parentheses or else that 6 would apply to each thing. Leave it just like this. Number 8, negative 4b in parentheses to the 4th power, which is each of these, so negative, that equals negative 4 to the 4th power times b to the 4th power. And negative 4 to the 4th power is 256 positive because an even number of negatives gives you a positive. So 256 and then b to the 4th power. Number 9, negative 9/10p all in parentheses to the 2nd power. Well, that's negative 9/10 in parentheses to the 2nd power times p to the 2nd power. And this is a negative times a negative, so it's going to be a positive. 9 times 9 is 81 for the numerator. 10 times 10 is 100 for the denominator. P squared. Number 10, xy to the 15th power is x to the 15th, y to the 15th. Don't have to put a time sign in there. It's automatically multiplication. Number 11, 10 to the 5th power times 10 to the 3rd power minus 10 to the 1st power raised to the 8th power. Well, here we have these two will be added together. 10 to the 5th times 10 to the 3rd is the same as 10 to the 8th minus 10 to the 1st raised to the 8th. You multiply them now and you get 10 to the 8th. And 10 to the 8th minus 10 to the 8th will be 0. Number 12. 7 squared times 7 to the 4th power times 7 to the 4th power. Well, we'll do in parentheses first, order of operations. 7 to the 4th times 7 to the 4th is 7 to the 8th. So now I have 7 squared 7 to the 8th. And now I just add these two exponents up to get 7 to the 10th power. Number 13. The surface area of the sun is about 4 times 3.141 times 7 times 10 to the 5th, all that squared, square kilometers. Simplify the expression. So we have 4 times 3.141 times 7, this is in parentheses, times 10 to the 5th squared. Well, that squared applies to each thing in parentheses. So I can simplify it to 4 times 3.141 times 7 times 7 is 49. And 10 to the 5th raised to the 2nd will be 10 to the 10th. Well, 10 to the 10th is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. It's going to be a 1 with 10 zeros on the end. So let's clean this stuff up first. 4 times 3.141 times 49 equals 615 times 636. And then we're at times 10 to the 10th power. And we're going to get into scientific notation soon, in the next section or two. But I am going to tell you what we want to do is we want to move this decimal 2 places to the left. We want only one number in front of the decimal. So I'm going to do that, 6.15636. But now in order to get it back, I need to multiply by 2 more 10s at the end of this. So instead of 10 to the 10th, I'm going to make it 10 to the 12th. That last problem will make more sense to you when we revisit scientific notation at the end, but we do have to make this square kilometers, or km squared. Awesome. Well, if you have any questions, please ask in class or show up to tutoring. We will see you tomorrow.